Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. If I was you, with all these things I've been talking about regarding trust, I will question me outside of court related matters. You've been talking all that smack. How does an express trust assist you outside of court related matters? Because some people are pretty good at getting out of court related situations. They know how to maneuver themselves to not even get there. But there are other aspects of life that a lot of people just are not too acclimated with, or they just go by along with the crowd. With court cases, something isn't right, but you try and try. Sometimes you put in some work and it's hard, but you get it. Sometimes you put in some work and it seems impossible for court related matters. But then there are other aspects of life where there's for instance, in this case, the whole face mask mandate thing. Now, 2022, things have changed a little bit, but there are still certain parts of North America where they're even enforcing it much harder. I know some states like Georgia and some other southern states, and Texas, all that places, they're pretty, they have some common sense there, basically. But other parts like Illinois, there's a lot of lack of common sense up here. And they're making it harder for people. So the question is, with things of that nature, how does trust help you out in that? See, most people who, prior to the whole C-19 situation, they talk about rights, they talk about this, talk about that. Where were they when all these mask stuff was going on? What did they do? And how did they functionally use all that trash that they talk to their benefit, besides complaining more about it? When you set up your trust properly, in this case an express trust, not just any trust, we've been going over the different types of trust and the different attributes and whatnot. These attributes and details are very necessary for you to be able to do things of this nature. You can't do this with a testamentary trust. You can't do this with an inter vivos trust. Only an express trust can do this. Mandates, all that crap, heavy stuff that everyone knows about. How does an express trust assist you? Well, here's a letter from USPS, specifically the Consumer Affairs Manager. So, unbeknownst to a lot of people, each USPS locations has a regional manager, and the term they call it is called Consumer Affairs Manager. Whenever you have any issues, not just some employee doing something, just anything regarding USPS, one of the ways that you exhaust remedies before suing people is to speak with the Consumer Affairs Managers, and they divide it into districts. Due process is implemented into everything people do in their daily activities. If you know better, you simply do better. March 23, 2022, Muhammad Bay Express Trust. Regarding USPS face covering policy. So the preceding story to this is, I don't wear face masks. Screw that. I'm not interested in that in any way, shape, or form. And everywhere I go, I simply live my life normally. I'm not going to torture myself. I'm not going to enslave myself for some spurious stuff people don't read the language of the law or the executive order involved. One is, executive orders are not laws. They only apply to the executive department of the government and its agencies. Simple as that. Two is, most of these people who come to you within these corporations that want to compel you to do one thing or the other, they themselves have not sat down and read the verbiage in the language of the executive orders. And three is, there's no legislature, law, that mandates one thing or the other. That's the only thing that would really create a mandate. All that other trash people speak of, it's not lawful or legal. It's just some private order that applies to one private entity. And you're not going to pull me into it. You know how many millions of people follow these executive orders, despite it only applying to the executive department of the governor or the president's office. But nonetheless, since we know better, we did better. The underlying issue with this was some USPS employee was trying to talk smack. And the typical stuff you would do down the road with a scuffle, just talk back at someone, do this, do that. We're not having any of that. We're dealing with business matters. When we go to the USPS, we're dealing with business matters, so you're not going to get in between that because of your stupidity. Otherwise, your employers and yourself will be liable. Interesting enough, the same day that I picked up this mail, I noticed a change in behavior. A vast change in behavior. The lady that felt the need to open her filthy mouth and speak as though she understands how anything functions. The moment she saw me walk in, she ran back and got the acting postmaster, because they don't have postmasters, by the way. Got the acting postmaster, and the man stepped out and told me, "Sir, can I please have a word with you?" And, well, he apologized. He apologized and said he was sorry and that he will properly train his employee. And guess what mail I picked up? This right here. From their original manager. Sent it with overnight mail. Now, the administrative process has to be done 3 times, as most of us are probably already aware of. So what they did was they sent it 3 separate times for each response. That way, of course, they're not going to be in default. This is the second one. You can see the different bracket numbers. This one ends in 04. First one, this one ends in 98. This is them sending this letter 3 separate times to match the 3 different notices, so that they stay in honor, so they know what's going on when you come through a trust. No one else ever gets response like this when they do so-called administrative process. They get ignored, and then people come and ask you, what do I do next? And here's the third one, and then the 6th, 7th. The moral of the story here is, when you come through an express trust and you know what you are doing, a trust has an all-encompassing power that applies to every aspect of life, not just court cases. Where people are failing, where people are just casually falling in line, your situation will be different. Now, if you live in an environment that people are less uptight about things, then you don't have to worry about these things. If you do, though, or if you're dealing with any other circumstance, just know that things can change through an express trust. The reason why you create a trust is not just to protect your asset or just to say or feel like you have a trust. It's to actually use it. Functionally use it. Function with what you know daily. And then after this letter, I received a phone call. Here is that phone call. The full 25 minutes video is on the Patreon page. Thanks to everyone who watches on YouTube. And a shout out to my patrons. Take care. Best of luck.